Imagine pulling up to a small-town butcher shop in 1905 Louisiana. The air smells like hickory smoke and something faintly sweet you can't place. An old wagon sits out front. A quiet family unloads burlap sacks that leave wet patches on the wooden porch. The butcher smiles, counts out cash, hangs a new sign. Fresh swamp game, best we've ever had. By the end of the week, half the town has eaten it. By the end of the month, another family has vanished from the road, and nobody connects the two. Until the day 15 armed men kick down a cabin door and discover the most organized cannibal family in American history. If you're eating right now, maybe pause, because what I'm about to tell you actually happened. And it went on for 4 straight years. Hit subscribe and let's dive in. Deep in the Louisiana bayou, where the maps just give up and turn to gray, the swamp becomes something else. Cypress knees like tombstones. Water the color of old coffee. Air so thick with mosquitoes you can hear it hum. On one of the only patches of dry ground for miles sat the Broussard claim. 200 acres of nothing and everything they needed. 14 people lived there in 1901. 14 mouths breathing the same wet air, sharing the same blood in ways no Bible ever meant. At the center of it all sat Madame Clemence Broussard, 75 years old, 4'11" in her boots, spine curved like a question mark. She still wore the black morning dress she put on in 1868 when her husband drowned in the Red River. Never took it off. Never washed it either, some said. The fabric smelled like wood smoke and something coppery underneath. Her son, Alst, 42, tall as a cypress, thin as a garfish, moved like he was always listening for something behind him. Hands covered in white scars that never tanned. Voice like gravel soaked in bourbon. Then there was Cordelia, 38, Alced's half-sister, Clemence's daughter by a cousin nobody talked about. Cordelia's eyes were the coldest thing in that swamp. When she looked at the children, they stopped moving. Just stopped. The rest of the clan filled out the same pattern. Cousins who were also uncles, nieces who were also sisters-in-law. 7 children under 16 who all shared the same flat cheekbones, the same pale hair that never quite looked clean. Outsiders who accidentally wandered close heard only silence. No laughter, no shouting, just the soft, constant sound of knives on wood. Winter 1901 to 1902 was the leanest in 50 years. Deer vanished. Gators went deep. Even the catfish stopped biting. Clemence gathered the family one January night around the single oil lamp. She told them a story they'd all heard whispers of, but never the full truth. In 1847, her own grandfather had found a dead traveler half frozen on the trail. Instead of burying him, they'd eaten him, and the family had survived the winter. She closed the Bible she'd opened just for show and said 5 words that changed everything. Meat is meat. We're hungry. James Morrison, his wife Sarah, and their 3 children, ages 8, 6, and 3, left Shreveport on a Monday morning, headed for a sawmill job. They never arrived. 3 days later, lumberjacks found the wagon. Horses still hitched, pawing the ground like they'd seen the devil. Inside, blankets, tools, a child's rag doll with one button eye missing. No people. That same Thursday, a quiet girl named Eulalie Broussard, 25, eyes like winter ponds, walked into town with 2 burlap sacks. She sold 40 pounds of pale, tender meat to the butcher for twice the usual price. He asked what it was. She smiled for the first time anyone could remember and said, "Special." He cooked a steak that night for his family. His wife said it was the best thing she'd ever tasted. 2 weeks later, the Thibodeau family. Same story. Wagon found. People gone. Then the LeBlanc family. Then the Fontenauts. Always whole families. Always travelers. Always within a 5-mile ring of the Broussard land. And every Thursday, more meat showed up, perfectly butchered. No bone fragments, no waste. The butcher started calling it his Thursday special. People lined up. Father Gilbert Horton was 63, soft-spoken and terrified of boats. He'd tried to visit the Broussards for years, bring the word of God, maybe baptize a child or two. Every time, Alst met him at the edge of the property with a shotgun across his arms and a polite smile that never reached his eyes. But Father Horton noticed things. 1902, the Broussard children stopped looking starved. 1903, their clothes were patched with fabric that looked suspiciously like city dresses. 1904, he counted 14 separate shadows moving behind the cabins at night, and the smell. 3 days of silence after every disappearance, then the sweet thick smoke that drifted for miles. He started keeping a private journal. August 14, 1904. Another family gone. 3 days later, the wind carried the smell of cooking fat. God forgive me, but I know what they're burning. 10 straight days of summer rain turned the swamp into soup. One trail near the Broussard land became a river, and the river started giving things back. Father Horton was walking, rosary in hand, when he saw it. A child's shoe sticking out of the mud, then another, then a woman's Sunday dress torn to ribbons. He dug with his bare hands. Buttons. A pocket watch stopped at 317. A tiny rag doll soaked brown. And teeth. Dozens of human teeth scattered like hailstones. That night he wrote, I have seen where the missing go. May God take my eyes before I see more. Sheriff Augustus Landry had 20 years on the badge and had never seen anything like the bag Father Horton brought him. Inside, children's shoes still caked with swamp mud. A woman's gold wedding ring engraved Forever J and M 1899 and 47 human teeth. Landry gathered 15 men, the most he'd ever taken on a single call. They rode out at dawn. The Broussard land was dead quiet. Even the birds wouldn't fly over it. The first thing that hit them was the smell. Sweet, thick, wrong. They kicked in the door of the nearest shed. Inside, a perfect butcher shop from hell. 6 long tables, dark with old blood. Meat hooks hanging like wind chimes. Barrels of salt big enough to hide a body. Knives sharpened to razors. One deputy lifted a cloth covering a fresh cut. The shape was too familiar. He dropped it and vomited on his own boots. Second shed, the smoking room. Rows of pale meat hanging like curtains. Some pieces still had tattoos. Third discovery, the pits. 6 trenches, each 20 feet long. Filled with bones. Human bones mixed with pig and deer to confuse anyone who looked. Tiny finger bones. Skulls with perfect saw lines across the forehead. Landry's voice cracked when he gave the order. Find the family. All of them. They found Clemens first. She sat in her rocking chair exactly where she always sat, knitting something red. Cordelia stood behind her like a guard dog. 5 of the youngest children sat cross-legged on the floor in perfect silence, staring at the deputies with flat black eyes. Landry asked where the others were. Clemens smiled, the first real smile anyone had ever seen from her, and said, Some family stays. Some family runs. The swamp decides. 7 Broussards had vanished into the reeds before the sun came up. They brought Clemens to the parish jail in chains that looked comically large on her tiny frame. She talked for 3 straight days, not like a prisoner, like a proud businesswoman giving a tour. She explained the system step by step. Phase 1, scouting the teenagers, Thibodeau and Celeste, would walk the roads pretending to be lost orphans. Travelers always stopped for children. Phase 2, the lure Alst and the adults offered water, food, directions. Southern hospitality was the perfect bait. Phase 3, the kill one nod from Clemens. Hammers to the base of the skull. Quick, quiet, no wasted meat. Phase 4, transport bodies wrapped in blankets, loaded into a false bottom wagon they kept hidden. Phase 5. Processing same day. Children cleaned tables. Women skinned. Men cut, consulted. Everyone worked. They even had specialties. Cordelia brined. Magnolia smoked. Little Azili, age 6, was already learning to sort the tender from the tough. Clemence's exact words, recorded by a shaking court reporter: "We wasted nothing. Bones for the pits, fat for soap, hair for pillow stuffing. The rest fed family, or paid for sugar and coffee." She kept notebooks, 42 entries, one for each harvest. Entry number 17, the Morrison family. 3 young ones, excellent texture. Mother stringy, but good for stew. Father strong, best smoked. Entry number 29, found a pregnant woman. Baby was bonus tender. Sold as milk-fed veal. Best Thursday yet. The 5 captured children never spoke in the orphanage. Not once. They sat in corners and rocked, refused vegetables, fought for any scrap of meat. One 8-year-old boy was caught trying to bite another child's arm to taste. All 5 died before age 20. 7 browsers melted into the swamp the morning of the raid. Alst, Eulalie, Budrow, Beauregard, Magnolia, Thibodeau, Celeste. Hunters reported sightings for years. Pale figures at the edge of firelight, watching. Never close enough to catch. In 1906, a trapper found a fresh camp. Human bones picked clean. A child's dress hanging from a tree like a warning flag. The butcher closed his shop the day the truth came out. He told his wife he'd been selling long pig for years. He never ate meat again. Died in 1912, weighing less than 100 pounds. They hanged Clemence and Cordelia on a cold December morning. Clemence's last words as the trapdoor dropped: "You'll all do the same when the hunger comes." The property was burned to the ground. Took 5 days. The fire fed on fat soaked into the soil. People say if you go there now, the ground still feels warm. And every Thursday, some swear they smell hickory smoke on the wind. So next time you re on a back road and a quiet family offers you fresh wild game from a cooler, keep driving, because some family recipes should stay buried. That's the story of the Broussard family, the most efficient cannibal operation America never wants to remember. If these stories are your thing, subscribe and hit the bell. I've got worse ones waiting. See you in the next one.